Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, my friend? My name is Talia Joy. Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. Pull up a beanbag chair. Let's do this. Today, we are talking about something that I can best describe as the spiritual buzzkill. And we'll see if you feel me as we go into this. So, we're at the place, right? We've grown, we've ascended. A lot of us, we've been moving through stuff, we've been healing, all that. We finally get to the place where we can hear our soul, our intuition, maybe just a nudge, an inkling of go for it, of you're meant for big things, you can do this, life of transformation, quantum leap. So we have this whisper that comes from within. Maybe you've had this for a really long time, or maybe it's taken time to uncover your intuition, your soul's whispers. Either way, you're here. I know you're feeling that. So we get to this place, this call for something more, something bigger, but then immediately our brain comes in. So I describe it as the soul starts to go for it. You're meant for more. And your mind goes, nope, no, not going to happen. Shutting that down. So we're going to talk about that, how this actually looks and presents in life when we have dreams and desires, and even part of us knows of ultimate possibilities, right? You see people overhaul things or, against all odds, they are successful in something, and especially the things that you want to be successful in. You see people making money. You see people creating businesses or becoming really healthy or really living in harmonious relationships. You see this, it's possible. But the brain, I almost want to say that's the complete sentence, but the brain. The brain comes in and goes, no. And that could look like, we'll get all into it in the episode, but that could look like, who am I to do that? Or it's probably not going to pan out, or I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I can't do it. Anything really that goes against that whisper going, you're meant for more, unlimited possibilities. And that's what we're talking about today, is that contrast, that light meeting dark, the abrupt buzzkill that happens when we're all in our soul and in our expression and life is unlimited. And then it feels like this buzzkill of the brain, often to the body, like we act out certain things that we're like, why are we doing this, right? We either get panic, we shut down our nervous system, all of it. That's what we're talking about today. I know that you can relate. So we're breaking down today why this happens, how your mind is in some ways controlling the whole show, what you can do to shift into the space where your soul gets the final say, where we can lean into the go for it, the believe in yourself, the unlimited potential, because that is how we make the most of this lifetime. We do have light and dark. We do have a head. We do have an ego, but we do also have a soul's purpose, a soul's expression. We have things we're pulled toward, locations we don't know why, but we need to visit there. We have things to do on a bigger scale than what our limited mind wants to allow us to do. Did that make sense? I don't know. But either way, hopefully you get it. You're here to make the most of this lifetime. And I'm excited to dive into this episode where we're going to merge spirit, soul, the brain, neural pathways, moving forward. We're going to talk about it all. I'm so excited. So with that, grab your rooibos tea, grab your coffee, grab your chai, and we're going to dive in. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Awakening Her podcast. I am so grateful that you've been led here, and I'm so excited for you that you're answering the call to manifest more magic in your life. My name is Talia Joy, and I am committed to showing you exactly how to manifest more excitement, ease, success, abundance, confidence, love, and anything else you've been craving. So if you're ready to go on a magical journey of spiritual and self-growth to manifest the life you're meant for, we are now besties. Let's dive in. Okay, so your soul already knows what you're meant for. This is something that has become so clear to me in all of the channeling and the intuitive work, the spiritual development and practice, in all that area of life. This becomes so obvious. Your soul had what humans would call a plan, but it's not so rigid like a trip that's planned out day by day, moment by moment. That's not really how it is, but there is an intention. Your soul has an intention of what you're meant for. And throughout your life, you are drawn to certain things. There are whispers, there are nudges. You could even just be drawn to astrology when you were younger, or animals, or like different things throughout your whole life that come in and nudge you and shift you and spark excitement. And eventually we learn about intuition and about how the breadcrumbs are leading us in our highest direction. So when your soul intended, you've heard me say this before if you've listened to the show, but when your soul intended something for you, it wasn't just about $1 million and fancy stuff and like the big stuff. It wasn't just writing books or, the external things you're going to do or create. That is part of it. That's part of what those are possibilities for the highest outcome, and they're really important in our physical life. But your soul also intended for massive transformation and awakening in this lifetime. So we have these nudges and these whispers that take us along in life. Sometimes life is really hard. Sometimes things throw us curveballs. It's not always clear. But between what we're meant for in the 3D, like what you're meant to do, what you're meant to produce or achieve, mixed with what you came here to learn, as you're nudged around in life, it's this mix of both. You're constantly learning and moving forward in your physical life, even if sometimes it doesn't look like it. And I'm not going to go too far into this, but I've talked about my pain journey and how I have chronic pain, and everything that I break through in my healing journey, it's not always about, ooh, I discovered turmeric root and now all my pain's away. Often there are so many levels of the emotions I'm suppressing, or the things I didn't want to allow myself to feel, or resentments I had from my childhood. Like those things pull me through a healing journey that also heals my pain, but heals my inner child and, the deeper parts of me. So I hope that makes sense. Like as you're nudged, as you're pulled toward things, it's not just about external, like the very obvious moving forward. You're also pulled through seasons of healing, seasons of purification, seasons of release, seasons of seeing old crap come up again, because you're also here to learn. Coming back sort of into the 3D, but also still to do with the soul, when you get an idea to start a business or to move or to visit a certain place or, invest in yourself, and for a moment you feel lit up, right? That is a soul whisper. That is an intuitive nudge. When you get this like, and depending on what kind of person you are, your human design, all sorts of things, we're not always meant to act on every little thing, because sometimes it'll be like a certain style of music, or I get an idea because I love to record. I also sing. I get ideas for songs and fun things I can do with my voice over music, but not everything is meant for me to like go out and try to, have my track be number one on Spotify. Some things that are exciting and that are fun, they're just for me. So not everything is about your future and your success, but when you do get ideas, when you do get nudges, there is something there for you, either in the healing journey, the personal transformation journey, or to do with your success, your business, your abundance, whatever that is. So when you get that whisper, it's a soul whisper. But then instantly, which is what we're here to talk about today, we get that second voice, unless I'm the only one who hears things, that second voice that almost instantly jumps in with, and then insert whatever hesitation here, right? What if I fail? That's too expensive. What if it doesn't work out? Who am I to do that, right? We have all these different narratives. I'll never do it. I'm so behind, right? And when we dare to dream, there's almost always that buzzkill voice that comes in and goes like, meh. What if you invest in yourself and you lose all your money and it wasn't worth it and it's a huge regret? What if you, do the whole thing only to let yourself down? These nudges come in, or these voices come in. And before you know it, that spark of excitement is drowned out by doubt. And then you convince yourself that it was just a little crazy idea. And like, I had this thing, but that'll never work out. I actually had a client real quick that had this dream of having a different property that was like a community garden. And because she couldn't see how it could like make money or be a sort of smart investment, she just didn't act on it and didn't act on it. But she just really, she had these visions and she really wanted to create this thing. And so we ended our mentorship. I came back, we connected about a year later. She's like, you will never believe this person I met who was looking to invest in some land, and this whole thing came together, and now she's running this like community garden that she half invests with someone who's become a friend and a business partner. It's just sometimes we get these nudges, but our brain brings it down to be like, well, that doesn't make sense, that's not logical, that can't make you money, again, all those other things, you'll never do it, and all of that. And so this is what stops us. And then we just convince ourselves that it's kind of just in our imagination, or people say it's a pipe dream, right? But what if those are the actual, what I see from my team is like, they're these nuggets of potential. And when you go after them in a way that aligns with the energy and everything we talk about here on the show, these are potentials for you. If you have a dream in your mind of a community garden, that is one potential of how you can live a really fulfilled life. Because life isn't just about getting to number one or making tons of money. It's also about connection and community and eating healthy food. And so for this client, even though it didn't seem practical at first, it was also part of her dream life. And we talk ourselves down from these things that don't make sense, or we don't believe that we can do it. So moving on, part of why this happens, I'm going to get a little bit technical here. Our brains, as you've probably heard me say, you've probably learned about, if you're on the path, we are diving into March, which is Mindset Mastery. We're talking all about the brain and reprogramming beliefs this month. If you're not a member, this is a beautiful time to join. March is going to be all filled with the stuff we're talking about, hacks, all the stuff. But you may have heard me say, our brains are wired to resist change because change feels unsafe. And this goes deep into our brains. Your subconscious mind has been collecting data subconsciously, so you're not even aware of it, since birth, shaping what you believe is possible for you. Every experience, every interaction, every stimulus, everything you have tasted, touched, experienced, smelled, all the things are stored in your subconscious mind, particularly when it comes back to things that cause some sort of upset or trauma or didn't go well. So here's how this plays out in your real life. Maybe you have a business. I see this a lot. You want to raise your prices, but your brain goes, people are not going to pay that. Or maybe you feel called to take a totally new path in your life. Maybe it's taking certain schooling or moving somewhere, but your brain is like, what about all the security you're giving up, right? It's logical. And I'm not saying don't take care of your life. I'm just saying be logical, yes, to a point. Let's call it logic with sprinkles, okay? So don't be irresponsible and reckless to yourself, but our brain will come in and be like, right? The spiritual buzzkill. Well, what about this? Or maybe you want to go all in your dreams, but your brain keeps you doom scrolling or keeps you from actually making moves because you're lost in a spiral. It's not that you're lazy, it's not that you're unmotivated, and it's not that you don't have the right goal or that it can't happen to you. It is your programming. And the good news is it's reprogrammable. That's weird. Reprogrammable. There you go. Sorry, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Okay. It is reprogrammable. So the next layer of the spiritual buzzkill is this thing that I've been experiencing, which I've been going through a weird time. There's been a lot of lows, a lot of weird days. But one thing I've realized is the deeper my channel goes, the more connected, the more clear, the more I've been doing this for years, and every client, every day, I am connecting with their spirit team and what spirit wants to say and channeling, and like, this is my life. The deeper it gets, the more clear it gets, the more I can just hear them all the time. I actually have these buzzkill moments where I realize, and I want you guys, especially you spiritual seekers, I want you to hear me. Your spirit team isn't here to tell you what to do. Your soul doesn't have like this special blueprint that if you follow, everything's going to go right. There are no answers in some ways. So your spirit team, your soul is always going like, you can do this. You're meant for more. You may get those ideas of like seeing a book in your mind. You're like, whoa. So they pull you along. They drop things in, but they're not here to take away the experience. You're actually here to be human. So one kind of level of a spiritual buzzkill is you spend all this time getting in touch with your intuition, getting in touch with your guides, or at least I have, and then only to realize that the brain is what caps you. So the second we go through all this healing and this purification, and we realize we have dreams, we have desires, again, like I said in the intro, like maybe I could be wildly abundant. Maybe I could sell my art. We're spending time in the forest asking what our heart wants to tell us, only to come back and realize that ultimately our brain is the filter in which we see reality. And our subconscious, as I said, has been collecting data since birth, which puts a lens over us, puts a lens over the way we perceive life. So the brain is ultimately in charge of what you experience. As I said, it's the control center, the filter. It is the mechanism that determines what you see, how you interpret the world, and the actions you take or don't take. It controls how you feel. It controls your nervous system. It controls your emotions, how you literally process life. So two people can live through the exact same situation and come out with totally different realities. Or another way of saying it, and I'm just going to kind of create a fictional scenario that does tap a little bit on trauma, but just so that we understand. If you had a traumatic incident with somebody in your past, and say it was a man that was tall, darker hair, or something like that, maybe it was a family friend or whatever, something went down, you could not see that person, not think about them for a long time, but maybe one day, 10 or 20 years later, you think you see that person, you see someone that looks similar. Your brain and your body will work together to flood you with stress hormones, with fight or flight. All of a sudden, your nervous system changes because in your subconscious, even though you weren't thinking about that person and you haven't seen them in a long time, your subconscious remembers. So that's just another example of how you see a car that slightly resembles someone that's something, and pretty soon you're like, your heart's beating. You're like, oh God, it wasn't even the car, wasn't even the person. Whoa. That's because there's so much information stored in our subconscious. So I want to talk for a second, again, as I said, about a little bit deeper about the brain. So these past experiences shape what we believe is safe. If you've ever been rejected, if you've ever failed, if you've felt abandoned, your brain stores that as danger. And it will keep you from repeating it. Even in a new opportunity that is actually safe, your body can react like it's a life or death situation and cause you to not do the thing, to cause you to pull back. There's also something called the Reticular Activating System, and this is literally just like your brain's filter. It decides what you notice and what you ignore, what you put your focus on and what you let go in your consciousness. Because our eyes, our ears, we pick up on more stimulus than what actually goes into our brain, like way more. So this is like the filtering system to determine, is that important or is it not? And this can happen when, say you're outside looking at the birds and something happens and it's kind of in your peripheral and someone goes, did you hear that? And you kind of go, wait, yeah, I did hear that. It's like it was there, but you didn't process it until someone said something. Then you're like, actually, wait. It's because, again, your subconscious, your brain takes in so much, but the reticular activating system determines what's important and what's not. So that bird or that thing that happened, your brain determined it as not important until you needed to call it up again. And then it's like, oh, wait, yeah, that was there. So if you believe you'll always struggle, then your reticular activating system will find evidence of that. And if you believe things are working out for you, your reticular activating system will start to show you proof of that instead. So in On the Path, we're getting into the miracle mindset. This is why this changes everything, because when you shift what you perceive, you start to receive different things. So just a little bit more on the brain, and then I'm going to get into how we can actually move through this so that when our soul is like, yeah, do it, our brain isn't like, don't do it, and then that's where it ends. But the other thing I want to talk about is basically very similar, and it's called cognitive bias. So your mind is filled with all these little shortcuts and biases that make you think that what you're seeing is reality. I know we're going deep, right? But really, we're seeing a filtered version of it. So confirmation bias, negativity bias, all of these keep us stuck in cycles of doubt and fear. So, said another way, you seek out and believe information that aligns with your existing beliefs. And I think how it goes, and some of you are going to know much more about this, but I believe with cognitive bias, there's different biases, right? I think there's confirmation bias, negativity bias, I forget other ones. But basically, you will perceive reality to match what you believe. So if you believe that all men are evil, you're going to see examples of men being evil. If you believe that the economy is downhill from here, you will seek out and find information that confirms that. And this is very, this is the way our brain works. This has been proven for a long time. There's been lots of science on this because it's psychology, right? For a long time. So it's not personal when we do this, which is a beautiful thing. It is reprogrammable, as I said. So another one is that negativity bias I think I mentioned. And this is where your brain will focus more on negative experiences than positive ones. And this makes fears and doubts feel bigger than they really are. It almost makes them feel more real and present. Whereas, we all have the option of, if we go for something, it could not work. We could get turned down. We could get turned down on a date or for a job or whatever. But if someone's only focusing on that, it's going to feel very true. And it's going to feel more like they'll probably get shut down and this probably won't work, even though in reality, we all have the same, like that happens to all of us. So I hope that makes sense. So we'll move a little bit out of the brain, but I just wanted to show you how ultimately the brain is in charge of what you experience, because you get to the point where your soul and your intuition is expanded enough that you believe and you see maybe things for yourself and you have these deep pulls. But if we don't master the brain, we stay stuck in these fears. We stay stuck in the patterns and the beliefs. And this is something that is hard for me to swallow. That, my team says all the time, like, if you believe it, that overrides everything. That overrides everything that your soul can say, what your team can say. It's kind of like that saying, if you think you can or can't, you're right, or whatever that is. It's at the end of the day. In this experience, everything is filtered through our brain. And if we don't learn how to work with that, we can't escape it, even when we're so in touch with our soul or so wanting to be purpose-driven. The brain is like, purpose what? No, that's not safe. So we're going to move into the solution. Don't you worry. Because this is the thing that has allowed me to move forward in things. And there are still things that I find myself, being held back because of my beliefs. This is a lifetime of work. But these are truly the things that allowed me to move forward, because it wasn't about more willpower. And it wasn't about just waiting till I believed in myself. And when I say move forward, I'm talking about things like, I lost at one point 65 pounds through just diet and exercise. I have started a business that I've been running for about 9 years. I've written a book that's about to be released. I've healed an eating disorder. I have healed a dependency on numbing myself and alcohol. I have healed wounds with my mother that are no longer, active and present like they were. There are many, many things I've worked through. And the reason I say that is definitely not to brag, because I am a messy work in progress, but it's to show you that I had all these things. I did not believe in myself. I felt broken. I felt different. I felt weak. I feel like an introverted empath in a crazy overstimulating world. I don't feel like I'm that person out there geared for success and doing all this stuff and rising at 5 a.m. and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and everything's in check. Like, I'm just not that person. I am messy. It's been a wild healing journey of never believing in myself and not knowing what that meant to love myself. Being thrown into motherhood, not saying like thrown in, but, being a mom to 3 children, overstimulated half the time in my own healing journey. Again, the reason I say that is just to make it very real. These are the things I'm about to share with you, are the things that have actually allowed me to move through the mind saying you're gross, saying you can't do it, saying you're just a weirdo from Canada, you're never going to be able to, make it, who's going to listen to you, all the things that have come up in my time. So it's a combination of, number one, the deeper healing work. The subconscious that I'm talking about is in some ways almost like the lowest part of you. And when I say lowest, I mean deep, not lowest as in dark or bad. I mean deep. It's like the tippy top end root of the tree that goes the deepest. The subconscious brain holds the deepest memories. And if we don't learn to heal the parts of us that feel unsafe, the parts of us that don't feel enough, the parts of us that don't believe in ourselves, that weren't taught to love ourselves, we all have this. So the deepest of the healing work starts to allow that, and when I say deepest of the healing work, I mean the stuff that happened to us, those wounds that we carry. That's what starts to allow us to be untethered from the bottom. So the deeper healing work allows our nervous system to start to, I'm not going to say reprogram, but not be in stress all the time, not be in fear all the time, not be in reaction to life or death situations all the time. And when we're paralyzed, when we go like, I want to start a blog, no, you can't. And then you're stuck in self-sabotage or just not doing it. You're doom scrolling. Again, that comes from this deeper level of it doesn't feel safe. I don't know myself to be productive and on it and abundant and all that stuff. So that some of that deeper healing work, it comes in to untether us from the very bottom. It's almost like the source of what created that belief of I'll never do it. It's unsafe, to be rich or to be successful or any of these other things. So the deeper healing work, and if you're here, I'm sure you're not new to it. This can look like inner child work. This can look like shadow, just being aware of your quote unquote limiting beliefs and your general childhood and what that generally, left you with. Did it leave you with feelings of unworthiness or nobody had time for you or abandonment? We do want to be aware of this. Again, if you're not a member of On the Path, oh my goodness, you need to be. So last month we did an entire month on emotional healing. We went through core wounds and we went through what it really takes to restore these deeper wounds in a very approachable day-by-day type way. So it's not big and heavy, even though we're talking about really big things. It's about untethering. It's about rewriting. It's about bringing love into yourself. It's about honoring your inner child. We even get into healing through lightness and play and inner child fun. So it's really done in a way that's accessible. So we did that deeper healing work in February to set us up for the mindset mastery of March. I didn't mean for those to be all M's. So the solution in doing all this, number one, is that deeper healing work. This helps our nervous system to find a new steady to process emotion that hasn't had a way to be processed yet, hasn't had a way to exit the body. So the deeper healing work allows us to process. It allows us to even out in our nervous system, allows us to start to feel safe, to be aware of our inner child, aware of, the way that we work on that deeper way and bringing in love and compassion. The other component is rewiring the brain. There's actually three things I'm going to say as solutions. So rewiring the brain. This is I'm not going to say complex topic. I love Joe Dispenza for brain rewiring. And of course, on the path, we're getting all into it. But the brain really works well with repetition and things like proof. So first of all, when we look at these narratives of like, I don't believe in myself, or I can't do it, it's too late for me, I don't have enough money, or whatever it is, we look at the deeper healing aspect first. We go like, where did this originate from? The part of me that feels scared, that doesn't feel worthy. How can I give them love? We go through that tenderness. And then we also look at the brain as there's a story that needs to be reprogrammed. That's why people do affirmations, visualization, hypnosis, EFT, all these things. It's different avenues to try to get in and rewire those stories because we can retrain the brain. Neuroplasticity, you've probably heard of it. It literally means the brain is always creating new pathways. Old ones can start to die off. New ones can be created. The brain has space to expand. We can learn new things. We can have new thoughts. That is completely possible. And the brain functions with repetition. It programs and reprograms with repetition. So those beliefs you have that don't that are the buzzkill, the ones that pull you down, those also came from repetition of seeing yourself not be able to do something, or seeing people let you down, or experiencing things that didn't go your way. It accumulated with repetition and it's healed with repetition. And it's almost like if you're trying to create a new habit, or if you're recovering from a habit you want to move away from, it's moment by moment, over and over and over again, not doing the thing, right? If you're trying to quit drinking, it's like trigger by trigger, moment by moment. We rewire our brain and then our body to expand into feeling safe in new circumstances. So even just one simple, like, I don't believe I can, maybe I'll flip that in the moment after I just take a moment, drop into my body, and then I'll say, I sometimes don't know if I can, but I'm willing to believe it's possible. Or even though sometimes I doubt myself, I'm willing to maybe believe I possibly could. Like, we're talking, we want a sliver where the light gets in. So even when we're resistant, it comes down to, do you want to choose to believe that thing or not? We go, I could write a book, and your brain goes, no, you can't. Look at that. Do you want that to be the last word? Do you want that to be where you're like, okay, yeah. Like, if there's two people arguing, who's to say which side's right? Why do we just believe the like, yeah, you're right? Why don't we believe in the part of us that goes, we totally could? It takes some rewiring. So really being patient with yourself, repetition, you could do, as I said, affirmations, things like that. We're going to have lots of practices over on the path. We even have sleep tracks where you're falling asleep to beautiful mantras and affirmations to help to rewire your brain. That's a beautiful way to do subconscious reprogramming because you're sleeping. So sleep tracks like that, affirmations, stuff like that can really help. And we start to train our brain. There's even times when I was healing from my body journey, as far as body image and all that, I would say to myself in the beginning, like, you're gross or disgusting. And I'd hear that and I'd take a deep breath and I'd say, to the part of me who feels not enough, I love you. I see you. And I'd have to reprogram over and over and over. But now that's not my default thought. My default thought is, what do I need, body? Good job. Look at you go. Holy man. Look at this body. And that's now where my default thoughts go. So we can retrain our brain. And the biggest, takeaway from this is it's about repetition. It's about coming back to that thing that's more supportive or that you want to believe. The last thing I want to talk about for the solution is intentional action. So, we're talking in this episode about when your soul goes, do this thing, and your brain goes, no. So intentional action is about training yourself to act even when fear is present. Have you ever done cold dips? Right? Every single time fear is present for me. I went bungee jumping twice in my life as well. That was very fearful, but I did it. There are so many things I've done. Recording my first podcast, teaching certain things, doing in-person talks and workshops and things, scary as shit. But we teach ourselves to act even when fear is present. We take small aligned steps. We regulate our nervous system. We teach ourselves to not equate, it's like a thermostat. Like, we teach ourselves to learn how to sustain a little bit of fear, a little bit of stress, to regulate through it and act from that knowing, acting from that voice that says, yes, you can do it. So the more you do this, your brain builds new pathways and we reinforce the expansion. So to summarize this part of the solution, it's first of all realizing there's a deeper part of you, there's a deeper narrative that feels safe when you don't act, when you don't do this thing. And that's fine. We can acknowledge that part of us. I have them too. So healing work, somatic work, speaking to that part of you, trauma release, trauma healing, those are key. We move in and we do kind of do these all as a salad, like all at the same time or whatever. We also go into rewiring. What belief do we want to, believe? Or, a book would be a great idea. Maybe I could write a book. Which direction do we want to go? We want to start looking at our brain as something we need to physically rewire. We need to create new pathways. So whether you do visualization, mantras, you're repeating things to yourself, sleep tracks, subconscious, hypnosis, EFT, they're all beautiful, and they all do that, very slightly different ways of doing the same thing, of the rewiring, of the reprogramming. And then we sprinkle in intentional action. Acting when fear is present, acting when resistance is there. And I want to just pause here because I don't want you to feel like, say you're trying to go for more walks and your fear's there, you don't have to believe, it's not that just do it anyway, do your hour walk. Like there are times I'm in so much resistance with like my arms crossed and I'm like, I don't wanna. And I hear my higher self go, a walk would feel so good. It's okay. I know there's lots to do, but a walk would feel so good. And when I just say, fine, I'm just going to go to the mailbox and back. We live in the country, so I have to walk down the road. But it's like, fine, I'll do 5 minutes. I get out there and I can feel how much that is monumental. It's not just about how long I'm walking. It's the fact that I broke through resistance for myself, listened to my heart, even if it's 5 minutes. And then you get out there, your brain and your body start going, oh, this is safe. We can do this. And then the more you repeat it, that action or one similar, your brain builds new pathways and you learn how to feel safe even when you don't feel safe, or even when your brain and your ego is trying to hold you down. So I hope that this has been inspiring. This is such a big topic. I want to bring you as much as I can in every episode to make you able to shift your life step by step. And there is so much here. So I do hope that this was supportive. Ultimately, if you have that battle between the highest self, the intuition, the ego, the brain, just know you are human. It's kind of like a symptom of being someone who's obsessed with self-growth and spiritual and physical and personal development and all that. It's just what's going to happen. We're going to come up against those walls. And ultimately, even though your spiritual connection and your intuition is so very important, we also need to be honoring that physical brain. And I think part of why it's so passionate for me is because I avoided it for so long. It's only the last few years. And yes, I went to therapy and other things. I've done EMDR and other things, but I didn't totally get it. I kept going into the intuition and getting frustrated going, I know I meant for more. What the heck? I know I meant, what the heck? And I realized, it's my brain. It's the actual healing work I had been afraid of, or just the narratives of like, I don't actually know if I believe in myself. That took some reprogramming, but it is possible. It actually doesn't take very long once you get clicked in and you're on board. And people like Joe Dispenza, as I said, are beautiful examples of this. And it's that reprogramming. Tony Robbins talks a lot about it. It's huge in all of this because we do need to rewire our brain for success, for our success, so that we can start to feel safe as we expand, as we move forward. So if this is really resonating with you and you feel like you're ready for deep mentorship, I would love to support you in this. Right now, I have few spaces for a 2-month container where we will be going all through this, and also as a more financially accessible to more people option on the path is, you guys, this is an ongoing course. This is education. We've got somatic practices, meditation, there are trainings, there are weekly practices that you can integrate the work. This is truly like a course that just keeps going. Like there's constantly self-growth, information, resources, perspective shifts, short audios that make a huge difference, all posted on a private podcast. It's the community. It's where I'm pouring all of my love into these days. And as I said, March is all about mindset mastery. We're kicking it off with 3 perspective shifts. And we're shifting you from lack to abundance, resistance to allowing, and linear thinking to quantum possibilities. We are doing perspective shifts. We are shifting in the mind and in the body. So I invite you over to On the Path. And other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. You can always check the show notes below for these links I'm talking about and so much more. And I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that it served you. So before you go, I want to share something with you. If you're loving these conversations about self-growth and healing and moving forward, and you're really ready for more tools, more implementation, more integration, more structure, more what do I do? I invite you over to On the Path. This is my only private community, and honestly, it's the place to be if you want to integrate, if you want to deepen your journey, and you find my work helpful. Here's the vibe: bite-sized practices, ongoing support, deep dive episodes, weekly practices, monthly challenges, literally just keeping you on your path, showing up for yourself day by day, week by week, month by month. So this is where you really put it into action, and I've got your back with these assignments, tools, practices, shifts, deep dives, meditations, journal prompts, and literally everything you could need to carve out your unique journey of self-growth, self-healing, and transformation. So I'm not going to go on and on. If you feel called, you feel called. And if you check below, because you made it all the way to the end of this, you'll find a link to join On the Path for the first month for only $11. So after that, it's just $27 a month, and you can go at any time. Okay, my love, I genuinely hope this episode lit you up, and I can't wait to welcome you over to On the Path, and I cannot wait to see you also in the next episode. Thanks so much, and have a great day.